Alrighty, guys, welcome back to iCoach Nutrition Radio. Guys, today I have a very special guest, somebody that I've had the pleasure of working one-on-one with as a client now over the last 2 years or so, just over 2 years. And excited to be able to bring him onto the show today to be able to chat with all of you listeners, for him to be able to share his journey of us working together. So without further ado, Steve, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Good morning. So my name's Steve Johnson. I run my own software company called Spindle Media, and we write software for collecting local property taxes. So if you get a tax bill from Tarrant County or Denton or Collin or Johnson, it's from our software. So that's what I do. I have a business that does that. I'm 62 years old, and I grew up in England, and I moved to Texas. Been here for quite a while, and I like to think of myself as a redneck Texan, even though the accent isn't quite there. I was quite active when I was younger. I played football or soccer, and I was a very good cricket player. And I know Americans don't know anything about cricket, but it's a very interesting game. And I grew up doing that. But I've lived here a long time, and I've tried to feel like I'm quite active. But over time, you get less active, and you put weight on, and you just generally you just kind of get into a different mode. But I met Justin at another gym, actually probably quite a few years ago now, probably 5 years ago maybe, when he was a trainer at a gym, and I worked out that particular gym for quite a while. But I also realized over time I needed to do something else. At one point in my life, I was kind of close to 340 pounds. I'm 5'10", so you can imagine that's way too much weight. But I over time I did a little bit better. But I realized that I needed help with nutrition, and I think when I contacted Justin, I think that was the gist of my conversation. I believe Justin was I was saying. I know nutrition is a journey. I think we all, when we're younger, go through the diet fads, the diet things, diet this, diet that, and you try them. I think everybody at some point who struggles a little bit with weight has always tried diets. And then you realize, you kind of, it's not so much you give up, it's just, it's not part of the life you live. It's not part of your lifestyle, if you like. So I think I called Justin up about 2 years ago and said, I know it's a journey, and I need help on nutrition. And I think that's how it started, didn't it, Justin?
Yeah, that was it. It's crazy to think how time flies and how it's
Yeah.
already, gone by as quick as it has. But yeah, I mean, that was it, right? I had seen you, we first met, at a gym that I was coaching at there. And we that's how we initially met in terms of like the exercise side of it, right? And
Yes.
I was coaching you in classes and doing things like that. But yeah, the missing link, as we've figured out for so many people, is nutrition, right? It's as we always hear, the goal for the gym owners is to make it the best hour of your day, right?
Yeah.
And so what I always challenge people with is, okay, well, what are you doing the other 23 hours of the day,
Yeah.
right? Because the workout's great and all, but if you're not prioritizing your sleep or your nutrition or your hydration or your stress management, I mean, these all, like, everything affects everything, and these things are extremely important as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so I initially, I think when my conversation with Justin was, I need help with nutrition, and I think I even said, I know it's a journey, but what I didn't realize about the journey I was about to set on with Justin is it's more than just nutrition. It's actually a whole way of living, and it kind of one thing links to another. I've always been a good sleeper, and so that's great. But one of the first things Justin said was, "How do you sleep? How much sleep are you getting?" And it's like he was really reinforcing it. And I've been well aware over the last, since working with Justin, that sleep is something that is just amazingly important and very rarely talked about anywhere, even in the popular media. People don't talk about it. So I soon realized that it wasn't just nutrition; it was sleep, it was nutrition, it was how much water you're drinking. it was very kind of getting very fundamental, as well as, well, how active are you are. And we were talking with Justin, we weren't talking initially about workouts. We were talking about, how active are you are, how many steps do you do, how much walking do you do. So it was quite interesting. It was quite an interesting start to our relationship, that it was opening up my eyes to a whole set of things, which when you put them all together, it kind of links into your, for lack of a better word, lifestyle. It's like, what do you do? And during this journey, I've also been reading books, and I actually listened to books. So part of what I did was started walking, and then I started. Justin suggested that I listen to audiobooks while I'm on my walks, and so I started doing that. And you pick up some interesting books like Atomic Habits, which I've talked to Justin about, and I know he's read it. And how you put little habits, tiny, they call them atomic habits because they're tiny little habits, but they're things you do consistently. And then you put another habit that links to that habit, and you link them together, and suddenly you're doing things every day that are linked together, that are making you actually live a healthy lifestyle. And when they become habits, they don't appear something that you're doing out of the ordinary. I mean, the one thing that's obviously crazy about dieting is it's just alien to how you live. That's the problem with, quote, being on a diet. So that's the kind of journey I've been on with Justin, and it's just not. It's like I said, my conversation started with, I know I need to end on a journey about nutrition, but I wouldn't say that's the least part of it. It's just been one component of this whole picture, and we spend times on our one-on-ones talking about the books that I've read, the books he's read, because they're impacting how I feel about myself and how I feel about the life I'm living and stuff. So
Yeah. I love that. I think it's so important to realize that it's never just one thing, right? It's really got to be kind of a holistic approach with all of this, because everything affects everything, right? You can't just focus on the workouts, right? We've always heard you can't out train a bad diet, right? There's plenty of people out there that only focus on the workouts. They don't focus on any of the other stuff, and they wonder why they don't feel, look, or perform the way that they want to there. But it's really interesting with you, Steve, is that, when we always joke about this now, but we think about, when we first started working together, one of the things you said is you're like, I don't travel that much, right?
yeah,
And then immediately we realized that you actually travel a lot, right? And what was happening is that even though you would work out when you were home, right? When you were traveling, that was a big struggle, right? And so what would happen is that the busier you were in terms of travel schedule, the less active you'd be, right? The less workouts you do, the less you'd hit your steps. And so one of the first things from an activity standpoint was like, hey, I mean, ideally, Steve, yeah, I would love for you to be working out 3 to 5 days a week, but like right now, your steps are like, I don't even remember what they were at. They were really, really low, right? They were like what, 2, 3, 4,000 steps a day.
Yeah, I think they were. On average, I think they were less than 4,000 a day, and that was, to a certain extent, that was when I was home. And then when I was away, it was almost, when I was traveling, it was almost negligent. I mean, obviously not negligent, but very little. And I mean, one of the first things was to get I think you set the goal of around about 10,000 steps, and then so I did start. I obviously, when I'm at the house, I started making a habit of getting up in the morning and doing it. And then it lent itself that when I was doing my travels, which was a lot, I would actually look for ways to get some walks in and stuff. So, but you're right. What Justin's first approach with me was, you've got to, essentially, in a nice way, you've got to be more active. You just got to be more active. I mean, even to the point that I think at first you were saying, at the office, at lunchtime, just get up and go out. And, and I think any step that I would take at that point in time was a positive step, literally a positive step.
Yeah.
And now I'm at the point where I mean, I just did a 5-mile walk this morning. So that's 12,000 steps for today already. So.
Well, and that was one thing I was going to highlight there is that, you know, when Steve first started, right, just getting into a consistent walk every single day, right, that was crucial. You know, if he was getting 4,000 steps a day, we slowly started working that number up and got up to the 7, 8, 9, 10,000 steps a day mark, right, where we knew that the NEAT, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis, was being maximized, right?
Right.
And what's really interesting about that is it has led into now this point where he's set a goal for himself to hike up to base camp Everest, right? He's
Right.
set goals to go to the Grand Canyon and do these hikes in the Grand Canyon. So the point of this is like, wow, you look at this 2 year, 2.5 year period of time. When we first started working together, there is no way in hell you could have gone and walked the Grand Canyon or had a goal of going to walk, you know, to hike up to base camp Everest, right? But
Right.
like what's happened because we met you where you were in your journey, walking might not have seemed like a big deal in the beginning, but that was that first step, right? And that got us into a consistent routine, which then developed into building a morning routine, right? With kind of having the walk with the podcast or audiobook there. So you're getting personal development time in, you're getting fresh air, sunlight, nature, like perspective's everything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
one person could look at, you know, prioritizing going for a walk in the morning as a waste of time, and other people could see the value in what it could actually develop for them as, you know, in terms of a morning routine. And that morning routine, what that does for you for the rest of your day, right? Like
Yeah.
your mood, your productivity, your energy levels, like all of that, right, is affected through that morning routine. So it's just so powerful to remind ourselves that, hey, we don't have to start with like the most complex, you know, program or strategy or whatever in the world. It's like you have to truly meet yourself where you are in this journey of living a healthy lifestyle. And you've got to, just like with the book with Atomic Habits, you've got to slowly but surely start to build these habits into your life so that you can build out what a healthy lifestyle is for you specifically as an individual.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's been kind of the revelation about the journey that gone, and I think I've mentioned quite a few times just in that I feel so much. I mean, mentally, I feel so much better. I mean, I'm clearly fitter than I was, but mentally, I just feel so much better. I feel like I can take on anything, and you know, and it just overall my well-being is good. And I think I think you've probably detected that when we've had our conversations, you know, our one-on-ones, how I feel, and I've expressed it quite a few times. So, but I think it's all part of feeling that I'm on the right path. I don't, you know, I don't spend hours, I don't spend minutes and minutes thinking about it. I'm just getting up in the morning. I've got my shoes on, and off I go do my walk. And for the most part, there's, you know, even with this being, it's been cold this week, you know, just get up and go, put some extra layers on, and get my 5 miles in. And sometimes, you know, most of the times I am listening to a book, but I don't always. Just so, but it's just become a habit, and it's a habit that now, so it's almost like second nature now, and that's part of what I've, in a sense, learned. But it's kind of learned in the sense of just doing these small things. And if it wasn't for you, Justin, I mean, when I first came to you, it was, to me, it was nutrition. I just need to sort out nutrition. Now, I didn't just say, oh well, Justin, I just need help on nutrition. I may have said that, but I wasn't necessarily closed enough. And you was, and you know, like I said, you said, well, okay, let's talk about the water input. You know, how much water you drink, and then let's talk about activity level, and let's talk about sleep. I mean, I think sleep's very important. Just so it turns out that I don't think I personally have not had a sleep problem. I mean, I'm sure a lot of potential clients or clients that you meet have that. And it's kind of interesting. My wife's a dentist that specializes in sleep. It's a TMJ and sleep center, and she sees it, and she says it's the not getting sleep is just, you know, it really kind of affects your life negatively in a big way. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would argue sleep is the most important out of everything. It's more important than nutrition, more important than fitness. I mean, workouts, like it's extremely, extremely important there. So yeah. And the thing that's very interesting is like, what you said there is it's like the walking piece now is just like a habit for you, right? It's second
Right.
nature. But in the beginning, me
Right.
getting you to walk 4,000 steps a day was like pulling teeth. It was like the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You
I
know?
never thought. I know. Well, I never thought about getting up in the morning and walking. That I spent 60 years. I spent my adult life from 20 to 60 without really thinking about going for a walk in the morning. And of course, when you're young, you think walking's a complete waste of time. I can tell you that. You probably
Yeah.
you know that. You think that running, you got to be jogging and jogging. And I mentioned to Justin, I do a few 5K jogs, not many. But I used to think 4 years ago that 5Ks was what everybody had to do. You have to do 5Ks. You have to do 5Ks. And I like doing them, but I just sprinkle them in. But I realize you can't make a habit out of doing 5Ks, but you can make a habit out of going for a walk every morning. So
Yeah. It's the consistency piece, right? It's like what are the consistent habits that I can actually do for the rest of my life, right? I mean,
right.
that's what's so important. And so, going back, Steve, like one of the big things that we noticed, which was like pretty much, it was pretty eye-opening there, which was like just from the walking, like us getting you from the 3 to 4,000 steps up to the 7, 8, 9, 10,000 steps, you lost like about 15 pounds just from incorporating those walks in.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
somebody's out there and they check in their Fitbit or whatever, and they're walking 3, 4,000 steps a day, and they increase that up, they double that, they triple that on a consistent basis over time. It's not going to
yeah,
happen in a week, but like over months. I mean,
yeah.
you lost 15 pounds just from walking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, because what had happened is my activity level at that point had been so low that my body kind of, I think, responded to the fact that I was actually being active. I was going from 3,000 a day to 10,000 a day every day, and the body's going, hang a second, what's going on here? We've got to burn some calories. We've got to do some things. So, yeah. So I went from a very sedentary, even though it's kind of funny, even though I did some workouts. I think it's like you said, it's the consistency. I think one of the challenges is to me later on here is building the workouts into my lifestyle. That's been more of a challenge, but some of these things, these steps that you introduced me to from the beginning are the things that I've been able to keep going. They've been the foundation of what I'm doing. But getting the workouts in is kind of like our next level we're working on, and I'm working on as well. But without that foundation, those workouts wouldn't work. I mean, the workouts are going to add to what I'm doing. And what I can even argue that even if I don't do the workout, I've got a great foundation for living a healthy lifestyle. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it just goes to show, it's like, I mean, when we first started, if I remember, I mean, there might have been some weeks where you got more in, but like really it was like if we got our one workout in a week on that Saturday or whatever, like
yeah,
that was kind of like what we were doing, right? So it was like
right,
one workout a week, steps super low outside of that, right? But now where you're at, right? I mean, look, we're not there yet 100% or whatever, but we're still working towards it. But like if we see the progress now, it's like you're going and you're working out at home, right? Like,
right,
and not all the time, but like you're doing group workouts other places and things too. But like you're working out, like you've done workouts at home by yourself.
right.
You never did that before.
Right. No, I actually never ever did that before. Yeah, yeah.
So
So
that's, I
yeah,
mean, that confidence, right? I mean, that's that confidence in working out, right? We hear it all the time. People, they go into the gym, they're scared to be in the gym. They think people are looking at them and all
yeah,
this stuff, right? And it's perfectly normal. I mean, everybody experiences this, but the confidence that's built through nutrition and the confidence that are built from working out, that confidence translates into every other aspect of life,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so we talk about mindset, right? And you talk about how much your mindset's changed here over the last 2 years. It's like, well, it makes sense because when we get our body, we get our physical, we make those physical changes, it starts to affect our mental, right? Our mindset.
right, right. And I think what's important is that these changes you make are become become second nature. They're habit forming, they're second nature, and they become a part of you. And they're not external like a diet is. It's not external to you. And that's why it's been, I think I would be fair to say, it's been a little bit of a challenge for me personally to get the workouts in and to get the, but I'm getting better. Like you said, like we all know, it's a journey. It's doing things every day that make you feel better, that are helping you. And I feel like the workouts are going to be another level that are going to help me. And you're right, the confidence to do on your own. And I think my challenge now is to get these workouts into a completely habit forming, truly habit forming schedule. You know what I mean? A discipline. So.
Exactly. Well, and that's, now it's like getting you into, we got the walks established, right? So now being able to be in that consistent 3 to 5 workouts a week, right? And then once the world goes back to normal at some point and there's normal travel again, then it's going to be, making sure we're staying consistent with those 3 to 5 workouts, even when we're traveling, right? And hitting those in hotel gyms. So yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it though, right? I mean, you're a young cat. Like you got so much time to build this. I mean, if I can get the last 40 years of your life dialed in, right, with nutrition and fitness, like just, remember that lady Susan I shared with you from 55 to 60, what she did with her body? Age ain't nothing but a number. And this is coming from a guy that's 29, so people listen to this podcast are probably like, yeah, sure, buddy. But it's all to be said is like you can do, like you have more power than what you think. Like, you can change your life at any moment in any aspect. It's just, are you willing to, do it? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to make the sacrifices in order to meet that goal that you have for yourself? And that's the question, right?
Yeah. I'm 62 years old, and you're right. It really is a number. Okay, I am 62 years old. I'm not 22 years old, but I can be the best 62-year-old person that I want to be. I don't have to be. I don't have to be overweight. I don't have to be, sitting down all day. I can live an active lifestyle, and you have to have an active lifestyle, I think, to be healthy. The definition of how we live. You get up, you have breakfast, or may not have breakfast. You jump in the car, you drive to your location, you sit down all day. You then come back and watch TV, and you repeat that for 365 days a year. That is not a healthy lifestyle whatsoever. So,
exactly.
And whether you're 22 years old or 62, at 22, you don't see it as much in your how you feel. At 62, though, you definitely do. And maybe even at 60, maybe if you've gone 22 to 62 and living like that, maybe you don't. But I tell you what, if you start doing these small things and living a kind of active lifestyle, you will definitely feel, I think mentally you'll feel the difference. I mean, I felt the difference, and I didn't think I was that, living that such a sedentary lifestyle, but I clearly was. But I feel so much, I feel mentally so much better, so much more alive. And you're right, I feel like I can take on anything. And I do have that Base Camp Everest thing booked for April of 2022. So, and I'm going to do a few more things before then. So, and then just not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, I walked 10 miles on the Sunday. I walked 10 miles. So
nice. I love it, man. That's awesome. I mean, it's just, I say it all the time. Most people do not know how good they can feel until they feel that way. To your point, if you've gone the last 40 years feeling however you've been feeling, you don't think that you can feel better than that. Right. But like the way that, like, if I would have asked you 3 years ago, if you think you could feel like how you feel right now, you'd be like, what are you talking about? No.
Yeah. Well, what is that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And of course, when you're younger, you also think, you think you're invincible and you can do anything. And to a certain extent, maybe you can, maybe you can't. As you get older, though, you know you're not invincible. You know you can't do everything. But having said that, though, why not do everything that you're capable of doing? Well, you don't give yourself a chance if you don't live an active lifestyle.
Exactly. I mean, the Base Camp Everest is a perfect example of that. You could sit there and say you wanted to do that a million times. But if you're not putting in the work, right, the consistent work leading up to this hike, then you're not going to be able to do it, right? And so, like, there's tons of people out there that say, I wish I could lose weight, or I wish I could be fit, or whatever, but they're not doing the stuff that they need to do on a consistent basis to live that type of way, or to accomplish that goal that they want to accomplish. So that's what bridges the gap, though, right? That's what gets you from point A to point B. Is it's like what connects the knowing to the doing is accountability, right? If you didn't have the one-on-one accountability that you've had over these last 2 years, you probably wouldn't have made the changes that you've made over these last 2 years. Like, accountability is everything.
Yeah, you're right. And the accountability is absolutely what you have to start with, because just getting up in the morning and going for a walk, okay, it's second nature to me. But when I started with you, Justin, it was completely alien to me. And if I'd done it for 2 weeks and never saw you again, that would be the amount of walking I would have done in the mornings.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember, right, I had you literally in the beginning to get things started. I had to keep up in the accountability. I was like, Steve, I need a selfie of you taking your walk every single morning, right?
Yeah, you did, and I did, and it's kind of funny because I got up and I was quite happy to walk, but I had my shoes, I had everything ready, and then I go, okay, I've got to take a quick picture for Justin, click, and off I go. And I just kept doing that every morning. And then, like I said, over time, it's just become second nature. And now I literally can be anywhere. And if I want to go for a walk, I'll go for a walk, and I can gauge whether I want to go 1 mile, I want to go 3 miles or 5 miles. Now, I tend to like to do the 5 miles because I've got a route here where I get up and I go to I live near Brookhaven, so I go to Brookhaven College. I go around the college down to Vitruvian, over into that Vitruvian area and back, and it's around about 5 miles. So that's the reason for the 5 miles. It's just like a perfect loop for me. So
Yeah, and not a bad view over there, right? Either it's
and like you said, besides the squirrels, I mean, there was a possum the other day, and and last summer I came face to face with a couple of coyotes on the trail.
Man.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't particularly scared, but they looked at me and I looked at them, and they decided to run away. I'm sure they were scared of me, but so that's getting back to nature type thing. So, and of course, early in the morning, that's the kind of things you're going to see. So.
Right. Well, and nature, I mean, we have tons of research supporting what nature does to us in terms of relieving stress and increasing happiness and things like that. One thing I was gonna highlight here. So going back to the walks, right? That then turned into the audiobooks. I asked you at one point before that, I said, Steve, how many books did you read last year? And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you said like a very low amount or zero, right?
Well, I think I said zero, but what's interesting, because I do some other, I think we've talked about this, I do some other kind of mentoring. I think I told you, I said, well, I think we talked about it. You'd asked me or I'd asked you, I can't remember what happened. I said, I've done zero. And I said, but I want to read 12 this year. And you said, great. Well, that's one a month. That's great. And January came by, and how are we doing? Well, I just can't get myself to the point of reading. And then you just simply said, well, have you thought about doing the audiobook while you're walking? And, simple little change. And then suddenly I'm listening to books. And I think I got 9 books in last year. But I feel like I want to actually listen to more. I'm listening to one right now. We just talked about the 10X rule.
But you got 9 in, you got 9, you didn't have a full 12 months to do that. You got 9 in the last few months of the year there. So
probably the last 7 or 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're on pace this year to like definitely get those 12. I mean, like already in January right here is the 10X. Is that first book you
10X,
started?
yeah. And I'm halfway through that. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And that's why we were just on our meeting. I asked you to give me some books. So I think you gave me the psychology of money. I think I'm going to get that. So so now I look forward to picking my book because it complements my walk, so this no longer is something I feel like I, quote, have to do. It's something I want to do, and it's part of my routine in the morning.
I love that. I mean, and it translates over into, you as a leader, right? It translates you like into the professional life there as well. So it's the definition of habit stacking. We got you into the habit of a walk that led into now personal development time. Now you're doing 2 things that you weren't doing at all consistent. I mean, so it's like, that's habit stacking, right? I mean, at some point we got into a habit of brushing our teeth every day. if you can do that, you can form any other habit. It takes time to do it,
Right,
and
right.
and
Yeah, listening to that Atomic Habits book is about picking up, doing the habits, and then stacking, like you do habit stacking. So that the whole thing is the idea is become second nature, but you have to make some steps, and then you, like you say, you have to be accountable. I'm sure if I didn't do those selfies every morning, that when we started all that, I don't know that I'd be walking like I'm doing right now. So.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, what connects the knowing to the doing is accountability. Accountability is absolutely everything. So, Steve, you said at one point there you were at 340 pounds, 5'10", 340 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And that was at, how old were you then?
That's probably only about 5, maybe 6 years ago. So I would have been about 56, probably.
And then now you're sitting, what's current weight at now?
Right around about 245.
245. And you've maintained, so you've maintained kind of like that starting weight or below now, like, or you've maintained this like 15, 20 pounds loss now for some time, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
especially comparing yourself to at that 340, I mean, you've kept this weight off, this 100 pounds off for the most
yeah.
part over these last few years here, right?
Yes, I have, and I will say that I've done it without being overly well. Okay, without thinking about quote dieting. I've not think about dieting now. We do the nutrition, and I do the athlete's plate and all this stuff. So I'm making much smarter choices about my nutrition. Um, but I through this time period, I mean, I mean, Justin, you've never mentioned the word diet. You don't mention the word diet. That's a kind of, it's not what it's about. It's about making all the right choices and picking. Yeah, but there is some nutrition guidance, and you have to make some changes in nutrition, and that still is a little bit of a challenge. But you're right. Whatever I'm doing every day for the last, especially the last year, I've not been putting weight on, and I've not been, my weight does fluctuate a little bit, but it doesn't fluctuate wildly. I mean, I'm not putting weight on, taking weight off, putting weight on, taking weight off. And I think in the past I would do that. I would go on diets, I would lose weight. It's a classic thing. But eventually you kind of give up everything, and you just put pound on pound on pound on pound, and suddenly you're 340 pounds. And it's like,
Yeah.
wow. And I bet there's a lot of people that are my age that at some point in their life, from 40 to 60, or 40 to 50s, the pounds just seem to go on, and they never seem to go off. They just go on, and you just don't realize it. And then but I'd made some changes by going when I saw you at the gym. I'd already lost a little bit there, and I think I was making some positive changes. I just felt like I wasn't making necessarily good progress, and that's why I kind of called you up, because I needed some guidance. I realized I needed some guidance, but what I didn't realize is that it wasn't just guidance on nutrition. I really needed to guidance on literally all these aspects that we've talked about, and I think that's what's made the change. It's not just nutrition, it's everything else. So now I feel, not only do I feel great, I feel that I eat plenty. We've talked about the fact that you have to eat plenty of calories. You can't starve yourself of calories. Your body's going to react in all kinds of negative ways. You've told me about some of the younger people that you coach and mentor that are trying to be that are very active, but they're not eating enough food. They're not eating enough they're not giving their body enough nutrition, and they're not receiving. They're consequently having all kinds of negative consequences to their life. So.
Well, and that was one thing that we realized, with you, Steve, right? Is that if we think back to it, right, here you were at this body weight, struggling with losing weight, despite the workouts, right? And we figured out that, well, when we started looking into calories, right, we were like, wow, you are really on a kind of a calorie roller coaster ride there. I mean, at
Right.
250 pounds, there were plenty of days that you clocked in 1,200 calories, 1,400 calories, right? Really low amounts of calories. And so, yeah, you're right. Over the last like two years here, I mean, we haven't even necessarily tried to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight. You've actually, been eating at maintenance calories. So like right now, knowing that there was some times that were 1,200, 1,400 calorie days, like last time we were tracking, you were consistently eating at much closer to maintenance calories. Like where are your calories at now compared to back then?
Yeah. My goal is around about 2,000, 2,500 a day, 2,600 a day. And the problem, I think you're right, is that, I mean, now I cannot start my day without breakfast. It's just, I cannot do it. I have to have breakfast. Well, in the past, I would go without breakfast. And what I wasn't realizing at 11:30, 12, I was, starving. I was literally starving. And then, so I'd go have, maybe chicken fried steak and maybe have a 1,500 calorie lunch, and so so my calorie intake, it was low, high, low, high, low, high, and not consistent at all. So now I base my day on three meals. I have what I think is a big breakfast. So, 3 eggs with egg whites, and then mini peppers and tomatoes. And to me, if you'd have told me 2 years ago, this is what your standard breakfast was going to look like, you got to be kidding me. That's huge. And so, but I go from, I have breakfast right about 7 o'clock, but I go through to lunchtime, and I am fine. I don't need snacks. I don't need anything. And that's the other thing. I used to snack on peanuts and all kinds of stuff. Don't do that. And now I'm ready for lunch, and in the lunch I try to pick salad. I like a salmon salad, and then I've got the evening meal. And to some extent, I've cut down on carbohydrates, but I haven't eliminated them. But what I do is I look at my protein first, and then my vegetables and fruit second, and then my carbohydrates third. And it's kind of, Justin has this concept of an athlete's plate. It's kind of half protein and then a quarter vegetables and fruit, and then a quarter carbohydrates. And so that's the concept we have. For me, it's still a work in progress, and I think maybe for a while, but I'm very conscious about how I'm doing things. And certainly breakfast is completely different to what it used to be. And when I obviously we have the pandemic, when I was traveling, I was very conscious about what I was eating for breakfast there too, but after we'd started this program. So
Yeah, I mean, I think if we think about it from a habit perspective, right? I mean, when we first started working together, I mean, you were eating out, like other people were cooking the majority of your food, right? Like you were eating out fast food restaurant food like way more than you're cooking your own. Now these days, you cook the majority of your food, which is phenomenal. We also noticed that like in the beginning, not only were you on that calorie roller coaster and a lot of the times under eating, which would make sense why you're not seeing the results in the gym, right? But you were also significantly under eating protein, right? And when we first started working together, you were clocking in protein numbers like 50 grams a day, sometimes 60 grams a day, like really, really low. And then also the vegetable and fruit intake was really low. So what happened is from a habit standpoint with the athlete's plate, going back to what you said, right? So quarter plate protein, quarter plate carb, half plate color, right? And so with that, you with the athlete's plate from a habit standpoint, you slowly started getting more vegetables and fruits into the diet, right? You slowly started eating more consistent amounts of calories in terms of getting a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, focusing on those major meals and building out an athlete's plate with them, right? So that portion sizes are there. So it's like, it's you can look at it from a number standpoint, right? With MyFitnessPal, or you can look at it from like a food picture log or a habit tracker standpoint with just the habits that we're doing there. And ultimately what happened is like now these days you're eating consistently at maintenance calories, you're getting in enough protein, you're getting in enough vegetables and fruits into the diet. And that's really what's allowing you to feel this way, look this way, and perform this way. And we're in the phase now of like going through this maintenance calorie phase here, right? So that we can go to diet again, right? Because we know that we still have some body fat to lose and things like that, but we're setting yourself up to be in a very successful place to diet. Because if we were eating 1,200 calories a day, 1,500 calories a day or whatever, you come to me eating that and you try to diet, it ain't gonna work, right? You've got to kind of let your body to recover and get it ready to be able to diet before you actually try to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've been surprised at how these nutrition, these plates that we put together, I put together for breakfast, for lunch, and for dinner, how they're overflowing with food. I mean, you're not dieting, you're not limiting yourself. Obviously you got to get the protein sorted out, but you can put vegetables and fruit on as much as you want and stuff. And I find they're big plates, and and that in combination with my activity level has got me at this kind of level that I'm at, and you know, and we're trying to, with the workout schedule, getting that more consistent, and get more you know, kind of get more into that. I think I'm also thinking personally that over time, even if I keep my calorie count that it is right now, I'll probably start losing weight anyway, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's the place, that, if you were still, clocking in 3,000 steps a day and not working out at all, you wouldn't be eating 2,500 calories a day, probably.
No, no, no.
But now you're much more active. You get in your steps every day, right? We're much more consistent with workouts. And so, yeah, really the goal now is, it's like when you're fueling your body properly and you're building muscle and losing body fat and doing it in a way. I mean, that's the beautiful part about maintenance calories, right? Is when you're eating at maintenance level calories, you should feel like you're fueling yourself properly, right? And you shouldn't feel like you're on a diet, starving yourself, or eating in the calorie deficit, right? Like
Right.
Maintenance level calories, that's what's required to maintain your weight and make you feel your best.
Right.
When we come up here in a few months and we bring you back into a calorie deficit, right? And we lose more weight and we lose more body fat, like you're gonna notice eating in a calorie deficit versus maintenance, right? From a hunger perspective. And that's good. Like you have to have that awareness. Like for you know what a deficit is now, and maintenance and eating at a surplus is, whereas most people don't even know what those words mean.
Yeah. But what I'd say is that the maintenance place that I'm at right now, it's making me feel like great every day. I feel I eat plenty. I'm not feeling hungry. I don't have cravings. And in a way, in fact, part of how I look at my breakfast, or I did at first, considering how I thought the plate was so big, I thought to myself, I'm fueling my body for my workouts. But I just feel good about it, and I think as long as my activity level is like it is, then I'm eating the kind of at levels that I need to be eating at. Like you said, my weight's being, to be fair, it's being fairly consistent. It's not going up and down. And I think as my workouts, I think, get a little bit stronger, I'm lifting more weights than I used to. I'm getting stronger and stronger. I think as I get put more muscle on, my body will kind of burn calories more while I'm just sitting. I think I mentioned to you that I met somebody not too long ago who was a nutritionist, and I forget the terminology, but he was talking about essentially what your body can do. Body's fit and got muscle. It's resting metabolic rate, I think, is what he talked about. It's what your body can do while it's resting. When it has that muscle there, it's working for you to burn calories while you're at rest. And he said that's the most, wherever people talk about fitness, all this kind of stuff, he says you ultimately need to focus on what your resting metabolic rate. That is when you know you're going to be you're fit, or you're in a fit shape, is when that resting metabolic rate is at a good place. And it's only at a good place when you're actually you've got muscle on and stuff. So.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, the more lean muscle mass that you have, right, the more calories you're going to burn there at rest. And so, that's again, it just reiterizes the point of why it's so important to live an active, healthy lifestyle, right? So that you can get the rewards of having a fit body and living a fit life, right? And it definitely makes the more active that you can be, and the better that you can eat, and the better you can prioritize sleep and all of these habits, like at the end of the day, the better you're going to feel, the better you're going to look, the better you're going to perform, and inside the gym and outside the gym, and so I think a lot of people, they have to realize that sometimes they got to just meet themselves where they are in their own personal journey, and they can't try to go fit themselves into this cookie cutter box of a diet. They don't need to jump on keto or carnivore or whatever the latest greatest thing is. Like, why don't you just simply assess, get a 10,000 foot view of your life and assess, right? And ask yourself, what is the worst thing that I'm doing? What's the number one thing that I'm doing to self-sabotage myself, right? And then start with that, right? And also realize that, hey, you've got to have some type of accountability, whether you're working one-on-one with a coach, or you're using a habit tracker or MyFitnessPal or a calendar, or whatever you're using. You have to have accountability so that you can build awareness, and that awareness precedes change, right?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I think that's the revelation of working with you, Justin, is I didn't know, I didn't know what I didn't know. Hey, we all walk through life with, there's plenty of things you don't know, there's plenty of things I don't know. And probably 99% of the things we don't know, we don't need to know, we don't need to care about it. But things like nutrition, sleep, drinking enough water, walking, exercise. I mean, we all need to know about it, but we also need to be able to, work. I think work with somebody like yourself on one-on-one and start making the changes. Like I said, 2 years ago, if you'd have said I'd be eating this large breakfast and I'd be walking 5 miles in the morning every day, I said, Justin, you're talking about somebody else. Yeah, you're reading somebody else's diary. It isn't my diary.
Hey, wasn't that amazing? I mean, I think if we reflect back on our life through, even me, I mean, I think about it all the time. I'm like, I've been in the nutrition and fitness industry now for 12 years. If you would have asked me 12 years ago if I would be running my whole entire business virtually, I would have said you were crazy, right? Yeah. And here it is. It's like the first 8 years I did everything in person, and now the last 4 years coming up in February, I've done everything online. And so it just goes to show, it's like, you never know what's going to happen in life, right? You never know what you can do. And at the end of the day, like it really boils down to your belief in yourself. And sometimes we have to get belief built into us from coaches or mentors or whatever it may be. We were talking about the mastermind situation, mentorship, before we started this podcast, and putting yourself into an environment of like-minded individuals that believe that you can accomplish things and you believe things are possible, right? Having that abundancy mindset towards life is so powerful. And I think there's a lot of people living with a scarcity mindset in, with their nutrition, with their fitness, maybe with other areas of their life as well. And when you can kind of start to challenge yourself and make that shift, that's when you can really change your life.
Yeah, yeah. And then listening to that 10X rule book, he says, make big goals, make huge big goals. Just think outside the box, just get up and just make big goals, and then you'll find ways to make it happen. So be open to change, be open to abundance as well. Yeah. I mean, one of the things in our mastermind, one of the first things in a mastermind on the financial things is be open to abundance. Money attracts money. Money attracts success. I mean, there's all kinds of things, and people, people kind of can be negative. I think especially young people can be very negative. But it's all part of a philosophy, a part of a way of living. And like I said, you don't know what you don't know. You need to give some things a chance. And I certainly didn't know what I know now on this 2-year journey we've been on, and how different it is, and how much better I feel about everything. I mean, all these things I'm doing add up to a day, a month, a year where I feel great, and I feel like I can take on. I feel like I can take on anything, I think it's all part of the deal. And this is why the Atomic Habits is. All these things are all about making tiny little changes, essentially. But you take them, you do the tiny changes together. Sometimes you stack them together. They become then second nature. I mean, the Atomic Habit guy tells you that after you've created a habit and you've done it, if you break the habit once, don't let it happen a second time. Very interesting. Very interesting. Because if you do that, you're going to break your habit. But the counter side of that is you make the habits so part of your life, they become second nature. So you're not really breaking the habit because it's there. I get up, I go walk. What's there to break?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's y'all have heard us mention this book so many times now on this podcast, guys. So if you have not listened to it, go read it. It's one of the most powerful books that you'll ever read in terms of helping you to build, the habits in your life that you want to build. Steve,
the Atomic Habits book.
Yeah, the Atomic Habits. Yeah. Well, Steve, so I could probably chat with you all day. I want to respect your time here, but I do have one more question for you. This is one I always ask clients. If you thought to yourself before we started working together, you probably didn't have in your head that we would still be working together, 2 years later or whatever, right?
Right.
And so I always ask the question, for those people that are listening to this podcast and are on the fence about hiring a coach, whether it's me or anybody else, like, how do you justify investing in your own health and fitness? Like, how do you justify investing and working with one-on-one with a coach? And, after doing it now for over 2 years, like, for people asking if the value is actually there, if it's worth it, what would you say?
Well, well, first of all, accountability is very important. Secondly, it is a journey, and if I was to not have the one-on-one, in a way, I'd be breaking the journey. I'd be stopping the journey. Now, I could stop. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be going in a certain direction. I mean, but I'd be stopping the journey with you, and I'd be breaking it. And I think number one is accountability. The number two is, if I was truly at my goal, let's say I've got muscles and I'm 190 pounds, and everything's fine, and I say, Justin, I'm done. Maybe we say we are done. Having said that, I don't think I'd be done, because I would still need the accountability to keep me on the track. But I think the revelation is that when I started, I said I needed nutrition, but I needed much more than that. And now I get the accountability with it, and we're still going. I still need some work with nutrition. We've talked about that, and I still need work on the workouts, and this kind of getting to another level. And as long as, I think we're always kind of growing internally, individually in our minds, and this is just a part of it. And I think if I was to cut it off right now, if I said to Justin, this is the last time we're going to do it, I'd be, to a certain extent, I just wouldn't feel right. But I'd feel like I was cutting off a point where my life been going in the right direction in terms of all this stuff. And this is a part of it. It's a component. It's just, in a way, it's a part of the component that makes it the whole thing. So if I was to cancel it, I'm canceling a critical piece that's making this work. So, theoretically, I could say I've learned a lot. Okay, for 2 years here, Justin, I've learned a lot. I could say to you, I'm done now. And I probably would live my life doing the things that I'm doing right now. I'm sure that if I didn't have you as a coach tomorrow, I'd still be walking 5 miles a day. Okay. And I'd still be looking at my nutrition the way. And I'd still be doing some workouts, but I don't know that I'm certainly not going to get the workouts to the level I want to be. And if I feel like I don't want to do something, I'm not going to have that accountability of talking to you and saying, because and then I think I should have mentioned that in life we go through times. I think I had 1 or 2 weeks that were really very, in fact, I'll probably have them again in the September, October time period, where my workload at the office, there's some things that go on for external things that are very challenging. And I was not able to quite keep the thing going. And I think we talked about it, I still doing walks, but I was not feeling good about where I was. And you were saying, okay, just take a step back. You've got a lot of things going on here. It's okay. Okay. But within 2 weeks, I think maybe a 2-week period, that by week 3, I was back on, and I was talking to you how much better I felt. I'm back on the program. And it's not that I fell off the program particularly, it's just I had a lot of external pressure from work. And maybe this year, when we come up to the September, October timeframe, I can talk about it. I'm going to say, hey, we're coming at that time of period. And this time we'll be more proactive, and you'll probably be most likely give me hints, kinks. You'll be saying, well, let's do this. Let's make sure we don't drop this, that kind of stuff. All that I don't get if I don't have a mentor or a coach. And if I felt like I could do it on my own, then I can be 340 pounds again. And I don't want that. So while we're doing this, I must admit, didn't know quite what to expect, but I did have this philosophy in my head. It's a journey. So now I think I'm on a journey. So Justin, I may be doing this with you 10 years from now, maybe.
Well, I think that mindset going into it is so important, right? Knowing that, hey, like, this is a journey, because ultimately I'm trying to build the lifestyle that I want to live for the rest of my life. And for so many people that are listening to this that have tried everything under the sun, every diet under the sun, right? They've started and stopped a diet a million different times. Like, they're so sick of doing that, right? What that does to you psychologically is terrible. And so
Yeah.
nutrition, no different than finances or any of these other things, it's a skill set that every human being should have developed in order to help them live their best life, right? And I think that's what it is. You know, we talked about with like the software development piece there. I was like, Steve, if you hired me right now to start, I would probably be a really terrible employee for you because I wouldn't know how to do anything, right?
Right. Right.
Just like nutrition or what, or any of this, you know, nutrition and fitness or whatever, living a healthy lifestyle is for some people. It's like we got to meet them where they are in this journey, and slowly but surely they're going to develop and get better and all of these things, right? I mean, I'm sure I could learn things from you and other people and slowly start getting better and better and better, but it's just, it takes time. My
Right.
education in nutrition and training and all that has developed so much over the last 12 years, right? So for you and your journey, 2 years might seem like a long time to some people, but like there's still so much for you to learn and so much you want to accomplish with your health and fitness there. And so, you know, the timeline is different for everybody, right? It doesn't
Right.
have to be the,
Right.
you know, this amount of time. It just depends on what are the goals that you want to accomplish, and, you know, knowing that we're playing the long game, right?
Yeah. And I'm older. Like I said, 62 years old, and I do have a financial business coach mentor as well. And I'm into year 3 or 4 of that as well. And I pay money for that. I pay money for you. I pay money for that. And I see the value. Here's the deal. I see the. I guess in one sense, I see a negative impact if I don't have the coach mentor, a relationship with you and with my business financial coach. I feel like if it was to go away tomorrow, it would be negatively impacted. Okay, because I feel like I do feel like I get a lot out of it. So with the financial business coach, I sign up once a year. With that, I just pay one fee once a year. And just in December, 28th, I signed up for 2021, and I get a lot out of it. Yeah, and I think you probably agree with this. You also I have to be a participant, willing to listen, to change, to do these things. And it's true in the financial business world. You have to be willing to listen and change. If you go in kind of not wanting to do that, you may not get a lot out of it. And maybe you don't want the one-on-one coaching. Maybe you don't want the financial coach. So I think you have to have a proper mindset that you're willing to change. And then I think this is probably where my mindset was really good. It's a journey. I think in the very first email to you, I said, I need help in nutrition, weight. And I said something, I realize it's a journey. And so my headspace has always been that I'm on a journey. So if I'm on a journey and I'm getting the results I'm getting, I see no point in not going down, not keeping going down this road. Like I said, maybe 10 years from now, we're still doing this thing. I mean, if I'm getting the results I'm getting now, feeling the way I'm feeling, and doing what I'm doing, and feel as active as, I see no reason why we wouldn't be doing it.
Well, that's the beautiful part. It's like, look at what you've accomplished in the last 2 years. Imagine 4 years from now, 8 years from now, 12 years from now. So it's like,
Right.
it's just the beginning, and that's definitely what's exciting. So, all right, Steve, last question I have for you here. If we were to go back in time right now, maybe there's somebody to the podcast that's listening to this that this resonated with them, right? But if you were to go back right now to Steve at 340 pounds, who is on the fence about hiring Justin as his one-on-one coach or any other coach, right? Yeah. But maybe it's not the right time. You're busy with work. You got stressors going on. Maybe it's a financial piece, whatever, right? What would be your advice to 340-pound Steve, who that needs to kind of start on this journey?
Wow. I mean, obviously, I would say just do it as soon as possible. I would say, take a chance. Just if you're 340 pounds and happy to be 340 pounds, then maybe you don't need to do it. But I wasn't happy at 300 pounds. I wasn't happy at 310 pounds. So I wasn't happy at 340 pounds. And when I was losing weight and stuff, I still wasn't happy at 300 pounds. I know that. Okay, the problem is whatever has got you at 340 pounds, you really need to be wanting to change the way you're thinking. So if you're on the fence, I would say, what would you do today if somebody could say that a year from now you could be 240 pounds? What would you do today to do if it's X amount of money this month? Would you do that? The problem you get into, I think, Justin, is that somebody has to be in the mindset of being ready to change. Okay, many people are not happy, but my goodness, if you just make one step in this direction and go down this road, you can get there. And the difficulty is they don't know that. They don't know you from anybody else. I'm just, you're Justin. Okay. Hi, Justin. And in fact, the only kind of partially the reason I knew is because I'd met you at the gym. But I would have no qualms at all in saying, if somebody came to me at 340 pounds, what we'd recommend, I would say, you know what, you need to get a message to Justin, and you need to talk to him and listen to him and go down that path. That's what you need to do. That's what I would certainly do. But if you're not ready to make the change, you're not going to make that. You're going to stay 340 pounds, and you're not going to do it. But if somebody is ready to make the change, they're not happy about where they're at, then I would say, get hold of you. Like you said, it could be any nutritionist or any coach, but get hold of somebody who is going to help. Is going to help put you on the right track. You've got to be open and listen, and be willing to make changes. But I clearly was willing to make changes. I was clear that I wasn't 340 pounds when I came to you, but I realized I wasn't getting what I needed to go. So I wasn't happy. I was happy that I was. Partly I wasn't 340 pounds because I'd started some workouts at the gym and various other things. I don't know if you remember what I looked like. I don't think I was 340 pounds when I first met you, but I was probably quite big though. I probably looked quite big if you remember. Yeah. And probably, I've still got a way to go. But you've got to be ready to make the change. And if somebody came to me, I'd say, talk to Justin, and I'd say it is a journey, it is a process. But if you're willing to do it, the benefits. What's amazing is the benefits far out. The benefits just are so much. They put you in a different place than where you were. Even though I wasn't 340 pounds and stuff, and quite, I've got a successful business. I still have a successful business. I feel so much better now, 2 years later, than I did when I first met you. And I came to you thinking, I just need a little bit of help on nutrition. Well, no, that's not what I need. Well, that was a component of it. I had some good things in my favor. I slept good. You're right. If I was not sleeping good, that may have been the challenge right from day one, Justin. If I wasn't sleeping good, but I was. But all the other things needed work on, and like I said, one of the most important things is getting the activity level up. Because that gets you moving and your body starts to react to it. And if you're 340 pounds, it's only going to react in a positive way to that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I couldn't agree more in that you absolutely have to be ready to change, right? Just going and simply paying somebody for something doesn't mean you're going to get the results, right? Like you have to actually put in the work, and really the way I look at it is like when you hire somebody, you're paying to play. Right, you're paying to play the game. Like you still gotta to practice and play the games. You still gotta work hard. You still gotta make sacrifices. But you have the accountability, right? You have the knowledge. You have the individualization, and you have somebody, most importantly, that's on your team that believes in you and wants to see you make these improvements in your life. And I think that's really, really important. So Steve, hey man, I really appreciate the time today, man. I think this podcast is awesome. I think that we're going to be able to share it with so many people, and a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this for sure. I'm excited for the rest of our journey here as we keep moving forward. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the listeners here?
Well, I would just say, if you're especially on the fence, just kind of, the whole Nike advert, just do it.
just do it.
Just do it. I cannot think of any negative impact of me having this relationship with you whatsoever. It's all been positive, and I'm feeling fantastic. And it's a journey, and like I said, there's times, when things, like when the stress levels on my life were so bad. But that's the thing, you're there, and you're well aware, things external things happen, and so it's okay. So let's just take a step back. Let's focus on that this week, and then when and then it was only like by week 3, okay, I'm back now. These things, I'm past that stress level. So, and to have somebody there that's going to be there, so I knew that once I got out of this busy time and all this stuff, I was working very hard, that Justin was going to be there, and he's like, okay, so for this week, let's get back to doing this, or let's go into that. And for the most part, I think I've been successfully in, my weeks go to months have been good. So I just say do it. My life, I feel much healthier and fitter, and enjoying it more than I ever did before. So I just say, just do it. Pick up the phone, send the email, send the text. So
that's awesome. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for that, Steve. I really appreciate those kind words. And I just want to tell you, I'm super proud of you and everything. I could sit here and tell you what to do all day long. I could have these phone calls with you, but you're the one that's actually going out and making the changes in your life and making this impact in your life. And so I just want to clap it up for you, because I'm super proud of you and really just super excited about everything for the future here. So yeah. Hey, again, thank you so much for taking the time today, Steve. And I'm excited for this podcast to go out.